Night settled over the city like a heavy blanket. The streets glowed with neon lights, and the air buzzed with the hum of traffic and rain. Ethan Cole walked fast, his hands buried in his jacket pockets. His heart beat hard as he looked around, checking if anyone was following him. He was tired, broke, and desperate. A week ago, he had lost his small job at a print shop, and now rent was overdue. But tonight, someone had promised him a way out. He stopped near a dark alley behind a bar where the music thumped through the walls. His phone buzzed and a message flashed. "Come alone." "Cash ready?" Ethan typed back, "Yes." He stepped into the alley, rain dripping from the fire escape above. A shadow moved near the dumpster, and a man in a long coat appeared, his face hidden under a cap. "You, Ethan?" the man asked, his voice low. Ethan nodded. "You have the ID?" The man smiled slightly and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was an ID card. Ethan's name, photo, birth date, everything. It looked perfect, too perfect. Ethan frowned. "Will this even work?" The man gave a short laugh. "Try it anywhere, kid." "It's better than real." Before Ethan could ask more, the man handed him a small flash drive too. "Bonus gift," he said. "For clients who pay in full." Ethan reached into his pocket to count the money. But when he looked up again, the man was gone, just gone. Only the faint sound of footsteps faded into the night. Ethan stood there for a moment, confused and nervous. He slipped the flash drive into his pocket and walked away. He didn't know it yet, but that moment had changed his life. At a nearby convenience store, Ethan tested the ID. He bought a pack of cigarettes. Though he didn't smoke, the cashier scanned the card. The machine beeped and she smiled. "All good." "Sir," Ethan blinked. "Wait, it worked?" He walked out in shock. The fake ID was real in every system. Back in his small apartment, Ethan placed the ID on the table and turned on his old laptop. He plugged in the flash drive. The screen went black for a moment. Then words appeared in red. "Welcome." "Ethan Cole, you've been verified." His eyes widened. "What is this?" Then new lines appeared. "Do you want to know how deep this goes?" Ethan hesitated. His fingers trembling, he typed, "Why?" Suddenly, files began opening. Blueprints, passport templates, police database maps, even FBI access codes. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was a whole network, a secret fake ID system linked to government records. Whoever built this had power beyond anything he imagined. Then his laptop camera light flicked on by itself. Ethan froze. A message popped up. "We see you." The screen turned black again, and a final message appeared. "Return the drive, or join us." His heart raced. He slammed the laptop shut. Outside, thunder cracked through the sky. He looked out the window and saw two black SUVs parked across the street. Engines running. A figure stood by one of them. Looking straight at his window, Ethan's phone buzzed again. A new message. "We warned you." He dropped the phone in panic. The power flickered, the lights went off, and the room filled with darkness. For a moment he thought of running, but where could he go? The flash drive was still glowing faintly on the table, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan grabbed it and slipped it into his jacket. He ran down the stairs into the rain, his shoes splashing through puddles. The streets were nearly empty now, except for a few cars. He ducked into an alley and pressed himself against a wall. His breath came fast. From behind him, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have plugged it in." Ethan spun around. A woman stood there under the dim streetlight. Her eyes sharp and cold. She wore a dark jacket and gloves, her hair tied back. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. She stepped closer. "Someone who just saved your life." Ethan frowned. "Saved me? From who?" She looked past him toward the street where the black SUVs had stopped. "From them," she said, "and maybe from yourself." Before he could reply, she tossed him a small metal card. "Keep that. If you want to live past tomorrow, be at Pier 14. Midnight." Then she turned and disappeared into the shadows. Ethan looked at the metal card. It had only one word engraved on it: Voss. His mind spun. He had no idea who she was or what she wanted. All he knew was that someone wanted him dead, and someone else wanted him to join them. As thunder rolled again, Ethan started walking. He didn't notice the small red light blinking on his jacket pocket. Someone was tracking him. His phone buzzed once more. One last message appearing on the cracked screen. "You've already chosen." Ethan stopped under a flickering streetlight, rain falling hard on his face. He looked at the flash drive in his hand. Its glow fading, he whispered to himself, "What did I just get into?" The camera light on his laptop, miles away, blinked one last time. On the screen appeared a single sentence. "Welcome to the ring, Ethan Cole." The question echoed in the air. Will he go to the police? Or meet the sender? Rain still poured over the city, washing the streets clean but leaving behind the smell of smoke and secrets. Ethan Cole hadn't slept since that night. Every sound outside his apartment made him jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. He replayed the messages in his head. Return the drive or join us. And that woman's warning echoed like thunder. Be at Pier 14, midnight. He sat at his desk, staring at the flash drive. It was quiet now. No lights, no code, just cold metal. But something inside him kept whispering that this wasn't over. He needed answers. He needed to know what Voss meant. At exactly midnight, Ethan reached Pier 14. The air was cold, and the fog rolled off the river like ghosts rising from the water. Cargo ships creaked in the distance, and the low hum of a generator filled the silence. He saw her standing near an old warehouse, the same woman from the alley. She didn't smile, didn't even speak at first, only nodded for him to follow. Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit with rows of old computers, flickering monitors and mechanical parts scattered across metal tables. The walls were covered with maps, blueprints, and strings of red wire connecting photos. People moved quietly in the shadows, some wearing headsets, others typing fast on glowing keyboards. It looked like a secret command center, a digital factory hidden under the city's skin. The woman finally spoke. "Welcome to the workshop." Ethan looked around, his voice low. "You run all this?" She shook her head slightly. "No, I built it." She reached out her hand. "Lena Voss." Ethan stared at her for a moment, remembering the metal card in his pocket. He handed it back. "You left this for me." Lena nodded. "I had to make sure you came." Ethan frowned. "Who are you people? Why me?" Lena smiled faintly. "You're a printer, a designer, a coder. You understand systems." She stepped closer, her eyes sharp. "And you already used one of our IDs, didn't you?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, I did. It worked, even in the government database." Lena crossed her arms. "That's because it is real." Ethan blinked. "What?" She pointed to one of the glowing monitors. "We don't just fake IDs, we rewrite data, we build digital ghosts. Our clients pay to disappear or become someone new." Ethan couldn't believe it. "That's illegal." Lena laughed softly. "Of course it is. But it's also power." She led him deeper into the room, where massive servers hummed like living machines. A large screen displayed rows of coded names and numbers, each line representing a new identity. "Every file here," she said, "belongs to someone who doesn't exist anymore." Ethan shook his head. "You sell identities to criminals." Lena turned to face him. "Criminals, victims, politicians, spies, doesn't matter. Everyone needs an escape plan, and we give it to them." Ethan looked uneasy. "Why tell me all this?" Lena leaned against a metal desk. "Because you're already part of it. The moment you used that ID, your real record vanished to the world. Ethan Cole doesn't exist anymore." His breath caught. "What do you mean?" She opened a laptop and showed him his digital file, his real ID, his address, his school. "Everything marked with the word deleted. You're clean," Lena said. "Invisible, but you can't live as a ghost forever." Ethan stepped back. "I didn't ask for this." Lena's voice hardened. "No one does, but once you touch the system, it doesn't let go." Ethan looked around the workshop again. Machines blinking, people typing like their lives depended on it. Some looked scared, some looked rich, some just tired. It wasn't just a fake ID ring, it was an underground empire, and now he was standing in the middle of it. Lena placed a tablet on the table, showing stacks of digital cash transfers. "Help us, and you'll never have to worry about money again," she said. "You're smart, you're desperate. That's the perfect mix." Ethan clenched his fists. "And if I say no?" Lena smiled, but her eyes were cold. "Then you'll disappear for real. No name, no trace. No one will even remember you existed." The words sank deep into him. He thought about his empty fridge, his landlord's threats, his lost job, his broken dreams. Money meant freedom, but this was something else. It was danger wrapped in gold. He turned toward the exit, but one of Lena's people blocked his path. "Relax," she said calmly. "We're not your enemies." Ethan took a shaky breath. "You erased my life, and now you want me to help you erase others?" Lena's voice softened. "We create new lives, Ethan, not destroy them. We give people second chances. You of all people should understand that." Her words hit him hard, because deep inside he did understand. He had always wanted a second chance. A new start, a clean slate, but at what cost? Lena stepped closer, her tone now calm but commanding. "I'll make it simple. You can walk out right now. Go back to your empty apartment and pretend this never happened. But you'll have no name, no job, no future, or..." She paused. "You can stay, learn, and make more money in 1 month than you ever dreamed of." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at the glowing servers, at the cash flowing on the screen, and then at Lena. Her eyes filled with something between challenge and warning. The rain outside grew louder, thunder rolling through the city like fate itself. After a long silence, Ethan nodded slowly. "Fine," he said quietly. "I'll help you." Lena's lips curved into a half-smile. "Welcome to the ring, Ethan," she whispered. "You've just crossed the line." As he followed her deeper into the underground network, a new sound began to echo. Printers whirring, scanners beeping, machines giving birth to hundreds of new identities, each card sliding out like a secret life waiting to be lived. Ethan didn't notice the small camera in the corner, quietly recording his face for the first time as one of them. The fake ID ring had a new member, but in the shadows above, a pair of federal agents watched through hidden lenses. One of them whispered. He took the bait. The story was just beginning. Days turned into nights inside the hidden workshop. Ethan Cole no longer knew what time it was. The underground lab never slept. The glow of monitors was their sunrise, and the sound of printers was their heartbeat. He was no longer the scared boy who stumbled into this world. He was learning fast, maybe too fast. Lena Voss had kept her promise. She taught him everything about the system: encryption, digital mapping, data ghosts. Ethan could now create a new identity in less than 10 minutes. Each one was flawless, a mirror copy of reality. But every ID also came with a piece of his conscience. Every time he printed a new name, he felt another part of his real self fade away. He had money now, more than ever before, stacks of cash hidden in drawers, crypto wallets filled with digital fortune. He bought new clothes, better food, and even started smiling again, but inside he was uneasy. Something about this operation didn't feel right one night. While everyone was busy running fake background checks, Ethan's curiosity got the better of him. He accessed a restricted server marked Private, Voss Only. Inside, he found files tagged with people's photos, children, families, even missing persons. One image made his blood run cold. It was a teenage girl named Mia Redding, marked Safe ID Active. She had been missing for 2 years. Ethan whispered to himself, "She's using one of our IDs." He clicked further, and his heart twisted. Mia wasn't just a client. She was owned by the network. Someone had paid for her identity, for her silence, for her disappearance. Ethan's chest tightened. He slammed the laptop shut. He couldn't breathe. Was he helping victims vanish or helping criminals hide them? That night he couldn't sleep. The workshop buzzed around him, filled with laughter and money talk, but Ethan sat in silence, Lena noticed, her sharp eyes catching everything. She walked over, arms folded. "You've been quiet lately." Ethan looked up, forcing a weak smile. "Just tired." Lena studied him, then said softly, "You opened the private files." "Didn't you?" His heart froze. He tried to speak, but words failed. Lena sighed. "Don't look so shocked. Every keystroke here is tracked. I know when someone gets curious." Ethan took a deep breath. "That girl, Mia, she's just a kid. Why is she in your system?" Lena leaned on the desk, her tone flat. "Because she paid for a new life." "Ethan, sometimes people want to be found. Sometimes they don't." He shook his head. "That's not what this is." "She's running from something." Lena's voice turned cold. "And now maybe you are too." The room went silent. Then she said quietly, "You think you can handle this world with morals? Then you don't belong here." Ethan clenched his fists. "Maybe I don't." Lena looked at him with calm fury. "Be careful once you start questioning the system. It starts questioning you." The next morning, he found something strange on his workstation. A photo of himself printed on a blank ID card. with the word test stamped across it. He looked around, confused. Everyone else was acting normal, but he felt watched. Someone was testing his loyalty. Later that day, Lena called him to her office. The room was dim, walls lined with screens showing fake identities scrolling endlessly. She placed a new task on the table, a folder labeled Project Lazarus. Inside was a profile of a man wanted in 3 countries. A known hitman named Victor Crane, Lena said. You're going to forge an ID for him, it's a big deal. Don't mess it up, Ethan's throat went dry. You're giving a killer a new name. Lena's eyes narrowed. You're giving him a business visa, not a gun. He hesitated. Why me? Because I trust you, she said with a strange smile. Or I used to. Ethan spent hours creating the ID, hands trembling as he worked. Every scan, every stamp, every line of code felt heavier than the last. But before finalizing it, he did something no one knew. He added a tiny hidden tracker inside the chip. If Victor used that ID anywhere, Ethan would know. He thought it was his way to fight back quietly, to make it right somehow. When he handed the finished ID to Lena, she inspected it carefully. Perfect, she said. You're improving. Ethan nodded silently. But as she turned to leave, her eyes flicked to the corner of the ID. Her expression changed. Did you just... she started. But before she could finish, the door opened. Victor Crane, the hitman himself, stepped inside. He was tall, calm, and terrifyingly quiet. He looked at Ethan, then at Lena, and smirked. Is this the kid? Lena didn't answer. Victor took the card, examined it, and slipped it into his pocket. Then he looked straight at Ethan. You know, he said slowly, I don't like it when people track me. Ethan's pulse stopped. How? He began. Victor tapped his temple with one finger. You're not the first to try it. He drew a gun and aimed it at Ethan's chest. Lena shouted, Wait! But the man didn't move. Time froze in that room. The hum of the servers faded and the world shrank to the sound of Ethan's heartbeat. He realized too late. Someone had betrayed him. Lena's voice cut through the tension. Put it down, Victor. He's one of us. Victor's eyes narrowed. For now, he lowered the gun but smiled darkly. If you ever touch my data again, I'll erase you. He walked out, leaving silence behind him. Ethan stood frozen, his body shaking. Lena turned to him slowly, her face unreadable. Congratulations, she said quietly. You just made your first enemy. She stepped closer, whispering, You wanted to play hero, Ethan, but in this game, heroes don't last long. Ethan didn't respond. He just looked at the door where Victor had gone, and deep inside, he knew he had just crossed another line, one he might never come back from. The screens around them flickered, showing a new message. Project Lazarus. Active. Ethan's reflection stared back at him in the monitor. Tired, guilty, and already too deep to escape. The deal was done. The devil had claimed his soul. The city never slept, but neither did Ethan Cole. After the encounter with Victor Crane, his world had changed. He was no longer just a helper in Lena Voss's ring. He was now a player in a dangerous game. Every step he took could lead to freedom or death. Ethan had begun talking in secret to Detective Morgan, a sharp man in his 40s who claimed to be working against the ring. Morgan promised immunity if Ethan supplied information about Lena and the fake ID network. The idea of working with the law gave Ethan a strange rush, a sense that he was finally doing the right thing. But at the same time, he knew Lena trusted him. Maybe more than anyone else in the ring, betraying her felt like walking on a blade. By day, Ethan helped Lena expand the network, creating new identities, encrypting files, teaching newer recruits. By night, he delivered intel to Morgan, sometimes barely avoiding security cameras or Lena's suspicion. It was a constant balancing act. Every decision felt heavier than the last. Lena noticed the change in him, subtle but real. Ethan, she said one evening. You're distracted. He smiled, forcing normalcy. Just tired. The work is intense. She narrowed her eyes. You're lying. I can see it. Ethan gulped, but said nothing. He had learned not to make mistakes here. Then came the test. Lena's most dangerous trial yet. A high-profile client needed a new identity. The client was a man known as Jace Harrow, wanted in 3 countries for fraud and violent crimes. Ethan's job was to create a perfect identity for him and his family. He knew Morgan would want this information, but giving it away could cost lives. Ethan worked for hours, crafting every detail, sweating as he double-checked security codes. scanning photos and encrypting personal histories. All the while, his mind raced. Every choice had consequences. Finally, he completed the ID, flawless. He glanced at the screen and saw Lena watching him from the doorway. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes held a challenge. "You did well," she said softly. "But I need to know you're loyal." Ethan's heart thumped. "I am," he said quietly. Trying to hide the truth, Lena stepped closer. "Actions matter more than words," she whispered, tapping the monitor. "This ID could save lives or ruin them, depending on who wields it." Ethan forced a nod, his mind spinning. That night, while Lena slept, Ethan contacted Morgan. Giving him the files, Morgan's voice came through the encrypted line. Calm but sharp. "Good work, Ethan. This will help us stop them." Ethan felt a flicker of relief, but that relief was short-lived. The next morning, Lena confronted him, her voice low but dangerous. "I know you accessed something you shouldn't have." Ethan's stomach twisted. I was just checking the files." She stared at him for what felt like minutes. "You're clever. But clever doesn't save you in my world." Then Lena revealed her own side of the game. "We have people everywhere," she said. "Feds, criminals, clients, they all trust us. Or fear us." She leaned closer, her eyes cutting into his. "If you slip even once, you die." Ethan felt sweat on his forehead. But he forced calm. "Yes," he whispered. "I understand." Lena stepped back, her expression softening. "Good, because I want you in this, fully." No hesitation. Days turned into a blur. Ethan kept juggling both sides, passing small intel to Morgan, while helping Lena plan bigger operations. He began to feel the weight of the network on his shoulders. Every person who vanished, every identity forged, every illegal transaction, it all rested on him in some way. And then came the moment he dreaded most. One morning, Lena pulled him aside, pointing to a new file on the server. "Look at this," she said, her voice cold but firm. It was a digital map, showing all the federal agents monitoring the ring, including Morgan. Ethan's chest tightened. You knew he was watching?" Lena smiled faintly. "Of course, Ethan. You think you're clever. But everyone in this world is being watched. Even the watchers." Ethan realized the horrifying truth. Morgan was not untouchable, and neither was he. Then Lena's tone changed, almost playful. "I want to test you again." She handed him a folder labeled Project Hydra. It contained files of rival gangs, political figures, and dangerous criminals. "Pick one," she said. "Create an identity. Make them invisible. Do it right, or they die." Ethan froze, every instinct screaming that this was wrong. But Lena's eyes were sharp, the weight of her trust heavy. He realized that no matter what he did, he could never stay neutral. Ethan sat down and started working, the hum of computers blending with his pounding heart. Minutes felt like hours. Every decision was a gamble with lives at stake. When he finished, Lena came over, examining the ID, then smiled faintly. "You're improving," she said, but there was a warning in her tone. "Just remember, Ethan, in this world someone is always playing a double game, and it's usually the one you trust the least." Ethan swallowed hard. Looking at the glowing screen, he knew she was right. Morgan was watching, Lena was watching, and he was trapped in the middle. Every choice could be his last, and deep inside, he knew the double game had just begun as he left the workshop that night, the rain falling hard against his jacket. A message appeared on his encrypted phone. "You're on thin ice?" "Ethan, one wrong move and it's over." Ethan looked at the flashing screen. Then at the dark city ahead, he whispered to himself, "I can't trust anyone. Not even me." The double game had begun, and the stakes were life and death. The warehouse smelled of metal and electricity. Ethan Cole could feel the weight of the past few days pressing down on him. Every decision, every secret, every lie he had told both Lena and Morgan, piled up like a mountain on his shoulders. He moved carefully through the workshop, trying not to draw attention, but he knew he was already in trouble. Earlier that night, Lena had called him into her office. Her expression was sharp, almost dangerous. "You've been hiding something," she said quietly, her eyes studying him like a hawk. Ethan swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. I'm loyal," he whispered, knowing she could see right through him. Lena shook her head slowly. "Actions speak louder than words. Ethan, people in this world die for the smallest betrayal." Ethan's stomach twisted. He had already passed intel to Morgan, helping the feds track some of the ring's smaller operations. But he hadn't stopped Lena, not yet. Now she was testing him. And he had no choice but to play along. Lena handed him a new task, her voice calm but firm. "Project Orion," she said. "We have a client who wants a new identity, someone very high profile. You'll make it perfect, no mistakes." Ethan opened the folder and saw the files. It was a politician involved in organized crime, someone Morgan had been tracking for months. Ethan's heart pounded. He realized he was standing at a crossroads. If he did this, he was helping criminals escape. If he leaked it to Morgan, Lena would know immediately, and she wouldn't forgive betrayal. He spent hours working, double-checking every detail, every scan, every print, every encryption. He added a tiny hidden tracker, just like he did with Victor Crane. It was his insurance, his way to stay one step ahead. He finished the ID and handed it to Lena, who examined it carefully. "Good," she said finally. "You're learning fast." But she didn't smile. Her eyes narrowed, reading him like an open book. "I hope you're as committed as you claim," she whispered. "Because this ring doesn't forgive mistakes, and it never forgets betrayal." Ethan nodded. Forcing calm, he left her office, heart racing, mind spinning. He needed to get the files to Morgan tonight, but he also needed to keep Lena's trust. The double game had never felt more dangerous. As he crept through the workshop, he saw Victor Crane standing in the shadows. Victor's eyes locked on him. And Ethan froze. The hitman didn't move, just watched silently. Ethan swallowed, forcing himself to continue. He knew Victor had learned more than anyone realized. If he slipped, the consequences would be immediate. Later that night, Ethan met Morgan in a quiet parking garage. The agent was tense, eyes sharp, scanning the shadows. "You did well," Morgan said, handing him a small drive. "This will expose Lena's network. Just the small pieces to start with. We'll take her down slowly." Carefully, Ethan nodded, hiding his fear. He had no idea if Lena already suspected him, or if Victor was watching every move. The warehouse and the feds felt like two worlds, both ready to consume him if he faltered. When Ethan returned to the workshop, Lena confronted him again. "Where were you?" she asked softly, almost casually, but her eyes burned with suspicion. Ethan froze, knowing any slip could be fatal. I went to check the perimeter," he said quietly. She tilted her head. "Interesting story," she said slowly. "One day, Ethan, you'll understand that in this world, loyalty is the only currency that matters." He nodded, unable to speak. Deep inside, he knew she was already testing him, watching him, waiting for the moment he would crack. The next day, Lena revealed a shocking plan. She wanted to fake their deaths, steal the money from the ring's clients, and disappear completely. "Think about it," she said, leaning against the table. "We could walk away with millions. No one would ever find us." A fresh start. Ethan's mind raced. It was tempting, more than he had ever imagined. But he also knew Morgan would never let him go. He was trapped between two dangerous worlds. That night, Lena and Ethan began planning the digital heist. They worked quietly, coding, mapping, and scanning security systems. Each step was precise, meticulous. Ethan felt the adrenaline rushing through him. But he also felt the weight of what they were doing. They were crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Just as they were about to execute the plan, the workshop doors burst open. Federal agents stormed in, guns drawn, shouting orders. Ethan froze, heart pounding. Morgan's voice rang out. "Hands where I can see them." Lena's eyes blazed with fury. She shouted at Ethan. "Did you lead them here?" Ethan's mind raced. He hadn't, or had he? The room erupted into chaos, people screaming, computers flashing red warnings. Ethan grabbed Lena's arm. Pulling her toward a side exit, shots rang out, ricocheting off metal walls. He could hear the agents shouting, "Stop them!" Lena fired a shot behind them, and the sound of glass breaking filled the room. They ran through the shadows, hearts hammering, the smell of smoke and metal in the air. Outside, the rain poured harder, drenching them instantly. They ran toward the docks, slipping and sliding on wet concrete. Ethan looked at Lena, her face pale but determined. "Are we really doing this?" He shouted over the storm. She didn't answer, only kept running. The city lights blurred in the rain, reflecting their desperation for the first time. Ethan realized the full cost of the double game. He had betrayed someone who trusted him. He had broken laws that could put him in prison forever, and he was running from the people who were supposed to protect him. The line between right and wrong had vanished completely. As they disappeared into the shadows near the pier, Ethan's encrypted phone buzzed. A single message appeared. Glowing red. You've already chosen, Ethan. Now live with it. And deep inside, he knew the choice he had made would change everything. The double game had turned into a deadly race. And the next move would decide who survived. The warehouse was on fire. Flames roared through the shadows, turning metal tables into molten pools. Ethan Cole coughed, smoke filling his lungs. Every alarm, every siren, every flashing light felt like the end of the world. He ran through the chaos, heart pounding. Trying to stay ahead of falling debris, Lena was beside him, her jacket torn, hair plastered to her face from sweat and rain. Keep moving, she shouted over the roar. Ethan barely registered her words, only followed, slipping on the wet concrete. Behind them, agents shouted, guns raised, orders echoing through the smoke. The ring's entire operation was collapsing. Everything they had built in months, destroyed in minutes. They ducked behind a burning server, sparks flying around them. Ethan's chest heaved, his mind racing. Where do we go? He shouted. Lena pointed toward a hidden exit near the river, a narrow passage barely visible through the smoke. They ran, slipping through shadows, flames licking at their heels. Outside, the rain poured down harder than ever, drenching them instantly. The black SUVs from before were gone, leaving only silence and the distant hum of the city. Ethan glanced at Lena, her face pale but determined. Are we safe? He asked. She shook her head. Not yet. We need the drive, she said, pointing to the flash drive in Ethan's pocket. It's the key to everything. Money. Freedom, survival. Ethan swallowed hard. Morgan has it. Lena's eyes narrowed. Then we take it back, before they can use it against us. He nodded, fear and adrenaline mixing in his chest. The two of them ran toward a waiting boat at the dock, shadows moving across the water. Every step felt like a gamble. Every second could be their last. As they reached the boat, Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from Morgan appeared. Hand over the drive or face consequences. We have you. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He glanced at Lena, who simply said, We don't hand anything over. With a sudden push, she started the boat's engine, the roar cutting through the night. The waves splashed against the hull, rain blurring their vision. Behind them, lights of agents flashed, but the water gave them cover. Minutes stretched like hours, the city fading behind them. Ethan tried to breathe, but his mind raced. He thought of all the choices he had made and helping Lena. Betraying Morgan, hiding secrets from both sides. Every decision had led to this moment, and yet, he wasn't sure if survival meant freedom or a deeper trap. Halfway across the river, Lena turned to him, her eyes serious. We can disappear completely, Ethan. Start over somewhere no one knows us, she said. Ethan nodded slowly. And the money? She smiled faintly. It's ours, all of it. But only if we're smart, only if we're careful. He swallowed hard, realizing how dangerous this plan really was. They weren't just running from the law. They were running from the ghosts of the ring, from Morgan, and from anyone who could betray them. Suddenly, a motorboat appeared ahead, cutting through the dark water. Ethan's heart jumped. Morgan's men, no doubt. He grabbed the drive tightly. Lena pushed the throttle to the max. The boat bounced violently over waves. Rain hitting their faces. Gunfire rang out. Bullets splashing into the water around them. Ethan ducked instinctively, heart hammering. Lena swerved sharply, dodging another volley, her hands steady on the controls. Ethan realized just how close they were to death. Every second was a gamble, every wave a possible end. And yet amidst the chaos he felt a strange exhilaration. The rush of adrenaline, the uncertainty, the danger. It all felt like life, real and raw. But deep inside, he knew they couldn't keep running forever. Finally, after what felt like hours, the city lights faded, and the dark horizon stretched before them. Lena slowed the engine, letting the boat drift into the shadows of a secluded inlet. Ethan leaned back, exhausted, soaked, trembling. Are we safe now? He whispered. Lena shook her head. Not completely. Morgan will find a way. The ring isn't finished either. Ethan closed his eyes, trying to calm his racing heart. He thought of all the people they had left behind, all the choices they had made, and he realized something terrifying. They weren't just escaping the law. They were escaping themselves. Hours later, after hiding the boat and drying their clothes, Lena pulled Ethan aside. We need a plan for the drive, she said, her voice low and urgent. It's the most dangerous thing in our possession. And Morgan wants it. Ethan nodded. We can hide it, split it, encrypt it. She shook her head. No, Ethan. We need to hit back, take control before he does. Ethan looked at her, understanding the weight of her words. He had thought this was survival, but now it was a battle for power. The lines between right and wrong blurred completely. He realized they had no choice but to fight, and the consequences of failure were unimaginable. Later that night, as they hid in a small abandoned cabin, Ethan pulled out the flash drive, staring at it in the dim light. Every file, every secret, every identity, all of it was in his hands. He knew the next move would decide their lives. He whispered to himself, we can't run forever, Lena. One mistake and it's over. She leaned back, eyes fierce. Then let's make sure we're the ones who decide the rules. Outside, the rain continued to fall, masking the sounds of the city. And somewhere in the darkness, Morgan was tracking them, waiting. The great escape had begun. But Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The next choice would decide everything. Bust the operation, or join the money train. The rain had stopped, leaving the city wet and glowing under the neon lights. Ethan Cole and Lena Voss crouched in the abandoned cabin, the flash drive between them like a ticking bomb. Every sound outside made them flinch. Every shadow felt alive. Morgan's agents were closing in, and the ring's own people were hunting them too. They were trapped in a perfect storm of danger. Lena leaned forward, her eyes fierce. This is it. Ethan, one choice now, one move, and everything changes. Ethan nodded slowly, sweat on his brow, heart racing. He thought of everything. The fake IDs, the lies, the betrayals, the money, the lives at stake. And then he realized the truth. There was no simple right or wrong anymore. Every path carried risk. Every decision was a gamble. Morgan's voice suddenly crackled through a small encrypted earpiece Ethan had kept. Ethan, hand over the drive, or it's over for both of you. Ethan swallowed hard, knowing the agent was serious, but in the shadows, Lena whispered, we can take control, strike first, and disappear for good. Ethan's mind spun, torn between loyalty, survival, and greed. The choice loop had begun, and this time, there was no turning back. Suddenly, the cabin door burst open, and Victor Crane appeared, gun drawn. His presence was calm but deadly, eyes locking on Ethan. Choices, choices, he muttered. I like it when people panic. Lena stepped in front of Ethan, pulling a small pistol from her jacket. You won't touch him, she said. Voice low but hard, Victor smiled faintly. I'm not here for him. I'm here for the drive. Ethan's hands trembled as he clutched the flash drive. He realized the power he held. Every identity, every secret, every fortune, all in his hands. Victor advanced. Lena fired a warning shot, the sound echoing like thunder. The standoff was tense, each movement calculated. Ethan felt the weight of the world on him. Then Lena whispered, split up now. They ran through the shadows, rain-slicked streets glinting under neon. Victor followed, relentless. Morgan's agents appeared from another alley, guns drawn, shouting. Ethan ducked behind a dumpster, heart pounding. The choice loop had fractured into chaos. Ethan realized he had only two real options. He could give the drive to Morgan, trusting the law to clean up the chaos, or he could stay with Lena, take the money, and disappear, leaving everyone else to fight and fall. Both choices were dangerous, both irreversible. He looked at Lena, whose eyes shone with determination and greed. We can make it, she whispered. Rich, free, untouchable. Ethan hesitated, glancing at the flashing lights down the street. Morgan's voice came again, calm but firm. Now, Ethan, make the choice. Time slowed, every second stretching. Ethan's mind raced back to the children, the missing people, the lives they had erased. And yet, he felt the pull of freedom, of the money, of power beyond anything he had ever imagined. He clenched the drive tightly, knowing that whichever path he chose, someone would lose, someone would die. He made his decision. Ethan turned to Morgan and threw the drive in the air. It glowed faintly under the streetlights, then slid into Morgan's hands. The agent's eyes widened. You did the right thing, Victor growled in the distance, realizing the opportunity was gone. Lena cursed, pulling Ethan back. You can't do this. We could have ruled everything. Morgan's agents moved in, securing the drive, arresting Lena's few loyal members still in the city. Ethan stood back, chest heaving, rain soaking through his clothes. For the first time in weeks, he felt lighter. But there was no celebration, only relief mixed with fear. The ring was not destroyed, only delayed. And Lena had escaped into the shadows. Vowing revenge, Ethan turned toward the city. Heart still racing, he knew this was only temporary. The choice loop never truly ended. Every decision led to another choice, another risk, and the lines between right and wrong blurred completely. Suddenly his phone buzzed. A new message glowing on the cracked screen. You've made one choice. But the loop continues. Another option awaits. Are you ready? Ethan swallowed, staring at the words. He realized the loop was not about morality, money, or survival. It was about control, the illusion of choice, and the consequences that followed, and deep inside, he understood the game was far from over. He looked out over the wet streets, lights reflecting like shattered glass, and he knew one thing for certain. Every choice carried a cost, every move was watched, and the next decision might be the one that finally destroyed him, or finally freed him. Ethan took a deep breath. Rain dripping from his hair, he whispered to himself, "I'm ready!" The city pulsed around him, alive, dangerous, unpredictable. The choice loop had come full circle, and the story was not finished, because in this world of fake identities, lies and power, there was never a true ending. Only the next choice, the next risk, the next loop. And Ethan Cole was trapped, forever deciding, forever running, forever living inside the loop.